Hi, thanks for checking out Catalyst Church. We hope that you enjoy the message and that God speaks to you through it. If you would like to know more about Catalyst Church or things we do around the church, you can just click on the link below and it will take you to our website where you can find more information. We hope to see you soon and we hope you have a great day.
Hey there. How you all going? Bit of action in the room, isn't there? Woo! Hello. So much happening and it's still going, okay? Kat may have said all the fun goes with the kids, but it's still happening here, I promise. We're going to have fun this morning. Well, it's story time, okay? And I've got lots of stories today, so get keen because you're going to hear some good stuff. All right, well, my husband, Matt, is a medical officer in the Air Force. And a few years ago, when he was being promoted, I got a phone call from the RAF base because they wanted me there for the small ceremony that they were having. And I was good with that. Cool, that's all good. Until they told me that it was going to be a surprise for Matt that I would be there. Not so good now. Not so good. Because the surprise meant that I couldn't debrief with Matt. You see, I can be a little bit socially awkward when I'm with all those, well, anybody really, but especially people in uniform. So when I'm with Matt's work peers, I really like to be prepared. You know, the who's who, the what's what, all of that sort of thing. So I arrived on the day a little bit flustered, straight away, flustered. And of course, I walked through that medical building into the room, and there are uniformed military personnel everywhere. So my heart's racing. And I make my awkward small talk, and it was awkward, until finally I catch eyes with Matt across the room, and he starts laughing. Like, honestly, he starts laughing because he knows that I'm out of my comfort zone. Yes. But eventually, it came time for the formal part of the ceremony, of course. So the commanding officer did a bit of a speech, and then it was time to present Matt with his new rank slides. Okay, so most of you are familiar with uniform. So he was about to get these new rank slides. But what I didn't know is that it's kind of tradition for the spouse or the partner of the promoted officer to do the replacing of the rank slides. So the time came where the CO says, "Betsy, would you please do the honours?" And I just stood there. And finally Matt sort of said, "Betsy, you have to change my rank slides." So I'm like, oh. So of course then my hands really start shaking. Yes, it was very, very interesting. So I've got like 200 eyes on me. Yeah, Matt doesn't think, yes, did you hear that? He had a good laugh. I'm sure there was about 200 eyes on me that day. I don't actually like eyes on me. It might not appear that way. I don't like it. So I'm really shaking by now. And of course, that button on his shoulder would not get undone. So I'm fiddling, and finally I get it off. I slip the new rank slide on, do it all up, and it's upside down. Yep. Okay, they all do that little chuckle. They weren't quite as rude as that, but they all have a chuckle, and I start again. Get it off, okay, flip it over, put it on, upside down. I kid you not, I put it on upside down twice. At that point, another officer beside me sort of leans in and says, "Do you want me to do it?" I'm like, yes, please. Why would they do that to me? It was horrible, it was mortifying, but why would they do that? And I can tell you why. It's because there's a universal belief that family matters. Family matters. And they're right. They're absolutely right. And the reason we agree on this is because that's the way God planned it. We were created to value family. I was at a seminar where psychologist Dr. Henry Cloud explained this. And he said that before there was sin, God created us to be in perfect unity with him and the family that we were placed in. But of course, as we know, sin entered the world. And with that sin, the family unit was broken. However, the thing is, we still all have that awareness inside of us that family units should be safe. Family units should be perfect. And that imprint is in us because that's the way that God intended it. And that's why we feel dissatisfaction when our family unit isn't in harmony. And you know, it doesn't only break our hearts when our family units are that way, but it also breaks God's heart because God is for the family. And if you want more convincing on that topic, of course, Jesus himself was placed into a family, wasn't he? Right at the beginning, he had an earthly mum and dad who nurtured him and raised him up. Luke 2:52 tells us, Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favour with God and man. It started in his family. Family's a powerful thing. And because family is part of God's plan. I even love how right at the end of Jesus' life, as he hung on that cross, he was looking out for his mother, caring for his mother, because family matters. It really does. But family, as we know, involves all sorts of crazy relationships. Maybe you agree? I love in that opener, if you were paying attention, there was lots of non-COVID, very COVID-safe connections happening. But in that opener, it said the most successful relationships don't happen by accident. Do you agree with that? I absolutely agree with that. I know I have to work really, really hard at my relationships. They don't just happen. And because God values relationships and we value relationships, today we're going to look at 3 ways that we can enrich our relationships. And the first one's really, really good. I know you're going to love it. The first one is that for relationships to thrive, they need fun. You like that? For relationships to thrive, they need fun. Awesome. So last week, I arrived home from work to a flooded house. A flooded house. Water gushing through all of our light fixtures in our kitchen and dining room, through the ceiling, water all over the floors. I raced upstairs, water gushing out of our ensuite, through our bedroom, into Josiah's room, water everywhere. And just so happened, Ange and I were actually messaging each other about something else when this all happened. And so she knew about this. And after saying, oh, do you need me to help? And my own family, do you need us to help? No, it's just mopping. We can handle this. Well, it's obviously more than mopping, but in that moment, just mopping. We left it. 30 minutes later, Uber Eats arrives on our doorstep with 4 Oreo McFlurries. Do we have a picture of that? 4 Oreo McFlurries. Look at that. How cool is that? How fun is that? And because Ange did that for us, our relationship with Ange grew a little bit more. Nothing practical there, no help whatsoever, but fun. Fun. Let's hear why. And when I was digging into this concept of fun and relationships, do you know it's actually a really hot topic? There's so much research into it. I'm not the first one to cotton on to this. Dr. Michael Rucker, another psychologist, articulates it brilliantly when he says, research shows that when we have fun with others, these experiences have a positive effect on building trust and developing communication. Having fun gives us an opportunity to connect and be creative. When we laugh together, this sends an external non-verbal message that says, we are alike, we share values. It can also make us look more vulnerable, but at the same time approachable and friendly, which can help build connections and bonds. Amazing, isn't it? All from fun. Aren't they some great reasons to have fun with people you love? Ange wasn't even in the room, and she created a bunch of those things. But we're in church right now, so how about we hear God's view? You think? So to start off with, I want to say I believe that God is a great big fan of fun. I absolutely do. I think a lot of people have a vision of God as this old, man with big long beard, sort of sitting in the clouds, looking down from heaven, kind of seriously pondering us and working everything out. Anyone think that that's a picture the world might have? I don't agree with that. That is not the God that I know. Because my God is a God of joy. My God is God of joy. In fact, the word joy is actually written over 200 times in the NIV Bible. How about that? That's because he wants us to have joy. He wants that to be part of our life. In Ecclesiastes 3, we see that there is a season for everything. And some of those seasons include laughing and dancing. Fun. These guys were having fun on the stage this morning. Fun is good. And let's not forget as well that God created all sorts of things that make us smile. Rainbows, puppy dogs. I thought, if I let loose 100 puppies right now, running through your legs and jumping on your laps, you'd be loving that. Some of you are even smiling at the thought of that. People with allergies might not like it, but anyway, I don't know that my dad would like it, to be honest. But fun, it was our God who created our sense of humour, our enjoyment of fun. And it was God who planned for our relationships to be enriched by fun. In all of those ways that those researchers have found, that was God's plan. That was God's plan. So grab onto it and include it into your relationships. So what might this look like? How do we do it? Well, really, you can do it however you want. It's up to you. We all do fun in different ways. But I'm going to give some practical examples right now. And something I want to say is create memories. Create memories together with anyone you love. They don't have to be big deals. They can be big deals. Let's face it, big deals are fun. Go on a cruise, just throwing that in there. But extra special moments can be little moments. I've shared this story before, but when I was a little girl, my mother used to grab a candle, sort of like this, and she would light the candle and we would roast marshmallows together over a candle. And we would chat and we would laugh, and it was a wonderful memory for me. We bonded. And because I loved that so much, I actually have a mini campfire experience for every household here today, over there on the stage, over there. And we've got big kits for people with kids still at home, and smaller kits for everybody else that they can take and do that with someone they love, or not, maybe you don't love them, but you want to build a relationship. But and there's also some tips and things in there. I was so tempted to eat that just then. I won't do that. And by the way, there are skewers in there. I've got highlighted skewers. There's skewers in there, so please don't let your children have the bags. I can just see it all going south. Yes, a few in particular. All right, another thing I want to mention is jazz up the normal things. Make the normal things fun. We, like many of you, Matt and I would often have movie nights with our kids when they were little. Movie nights, everybody does that. Netflix has made that easy. So what we would do, though, is we would get our couches and we would push them together so that we would push them together and fill them up with cushions and blankets, and the four of us would climb into it, and our kids would call it a boat. And we'd have food and watch our movie all snuggled up in the boat, and the kids would say, "Can we have a boat? Can we have a boat?" And it was fun. It was so fun. I think we'd still be doing that to this day if Joey wasn't bigger than the rest of us now. He'll probably suggest it when we get home, to be honest. Whole lot of fun. The last one I want to suggest right now is to acknowledge and celebrate the good times. That is so important. Make the good times spectacular. Anything, and make them fun. When Matthew had his final medical exam many years ago, our Connect group threw a surprise party for him. I picked him up from his exam and we were heading off to dinner, and we had a surprise medical-themed party. Everybody was dressed up in all sorts of medical costumes, and the food was medical-themed. We had syringes with red cordial in it and cupcakes. It was amazing. And do you know, he actually says that's one of his life highlights that night. It was an amazing night. We formed bonds that night because they shared and celebrated such a special event. You getting it? You getting it? Make things matter with your family by including fun. Relationships can change with fun. All right, I think you've got it. Okay, we're going to change directions now, on to my next point. And what I need is for everybody who can to stand up for me. And we're going to have a quick game of Simon Says. Very safe. You're not going to be doing anything crazy. If you can't stand, that's fine. But if you can, I'd love you to stand up. All right, and of course with Simon Says, it works in that I give you an instruction. If I don't say Simon Says, you don't have to do it. Okay, Simon Says, put your hands in the air. Very good. Simon Says, put your hands on your shoulders. Simon Says, put your hands on your nose. Put your hands on your shoulders. Oh, very good. Simon Says, put your hands on your shoulders. Simon Says, give Betsy a clap. Good. Okay, stop. Okay, Simon Says stop. Very good. Simon Says sit down, the game's over. You guys are wanting to win, aren't you? Very good. Now, clearly that had a point, and that was reliant on my communication with you and how I delivered that communication. And communication is the heart of this next point. Don't think anyone's surprised. For relationships to thrive, they need healthy communication. Psychologist Shelley Summerfeld says, communication is important because it fosters trust and connection. In order to have an open, honest and vulnerable relationship, we must be able to freely communicate in a healthy manner. No surprises there, I am sure of that. And what stands out to me in that statement, though, is the word healthy. Because we all know that communication is necessary. The world has gotten that. They get it now. Communication is necessary. But what about healthy communication? Healthy communication. And because communication is such a broad topic, I'm going to hone in really tight right now and just talk about our words. I want to talk about healthy words, how we use our words. We all know the saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Okay, the kids would have done better than that. Names will never hurt me. Is that true? We also know that that saying is not right. Words are so destructive, aren't they? Words are so powerful. Words can be terrible. And that's where the Bible is wonderful, because the Bible is very clear and very specific to us in how we use our words. In Colossians, we're told to let our speech always be gracious. In Proverbs, we're told that a soft answer turns away wrath. In Ephesians, we're reminded to always speak the truth. Ephesians also tells us to build others up. These are good things. And in James 1:6, we have a very pointed verse. Know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. How we use our words is dynamic. When I was a young mum, a day came and I realised I was a yeller. Both of my children are hearing impaired, and I can be a bit bossy. So it was quite easy for me to fall into the pattern of yelling. And I remember barking at my children one morning, and I sort of just walked out the front door of my house. And I remember it clearly. And I looked back at the house, and I remember just thinking, I just wish I didn't have to yell at them all the time. And in that moment, God said to me, stop. It was clear. It was definitely a God moment, so stop. Because in that moment, I actually realised how ugly my words were. I saw how unhealthy my words were. I saw the sin in my words. And in that day, I mean it, I stopped being a yeller. I changed that day. And I believe my kids would say, I hope my kids will back me up in saying they have two parents that aren't yellers. Matthew's never been a yeller. Of course, I think I've heard him yell once, but yeah, two parents that aren't yellers. But I had to change. I had to repent of that nasty habit and recognise that my words were not healthy. Are your words healthy? Have you ever listened to your own words? Really listened? And if you're brave enough, maybe you should ask somebody or a few somebodies that you're in relationship with, what are my words like? How do you go with my words? Do I deliver my words well? It's a brave thought. But let's be people that raise each other up in our relationships, who don't gossip, don't lie, who speak gently, who don't yell. Let's use our words God's ways. Healthy communication is vital for thriving relationships. All right. Well, I had someone recently say to me, Betsy, whenever you're on stage, we really worry that you're going to fall off the stage because you, yes, now's a good time. We really worry that you're going to fall off the stage because you move around so much. Have you noticed that? Have I been doing that? Apparently, when I don't have a lectern in front of me, they get a little bit worried about the front here. Let me see. I caught eyes. And I'm going to do something about that today because I want to be safe. So maybe just around here, guys. Very good. Perfect. Yeah. Excellent. Thanks, Jess. That's perfect. That'll do. Rightio. I feel safe now. Safe. Now, obviously, this has a purpose. Obviously, there's a reason for this barrier right here. And that is that relationships need boundaries. Relationships need boundaries. Have you ever noticed that the world is often really opposed to boundaries? It doesn't like boundaries. The world can see it as restrictive. They don't actually recognise that when boundaries are put in place with the right intentions and for the right reasons, that they don't actually restrict us, but they keep us safe. And they actually give us more freedom. More freedom. Someone could look at this boundary and say that I'm trapped, that I have had my freedom taken away from me. The plan was for it to be quite around me, but I knew that this thing just broke apart when we picked it up, so we just put it where it would protect me most. But it actually gives me more freedom because the truth is I can actually walk with my eyes shut if I want. I'm not going to do it because that person is in the room. I might worry that person. I could walk backwards. Look at that. I could even do a somersault if I was flexible enough, but I'm not going to do that. Tom Anderson could probably do it. He can fit into a tiny little box when we were away on our staff retreat, so I'm pretty sure he could do a somersault without falling off the stage. But the point being here that this boundary is keeping me safe. Can you see what I'm saying? It's put there with the right intentions. Dr. Henry Cloud, in his book, Boundaries, really great book if you want to learn a little bit more about that, says boundaries help us to distinguish our property so that we can take care of it. They help us to guard our hearts with all diligence. We need to keep things that will nurture us inside our fences and keep things that will harm us outside. In short, boundaries help us to keep the good in and the bad out. Let's look at that last line again. Boundaries help us keep the good in and the bad out. And when we word it like that, it suddenly becomes really quite logical, doesn't it? It makes a bit more sense. And a great example of this is love. Love is a great example of this. The world likes to say, love is love. Anything goes. But if we go to the Bible, into that very, very famous love passage that even the world likes to use in 1 Corinthians, it's commonly read at weddings, we see love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy, it does not boast. And it goes on and on about what love is. And while the world says, oh, they're pretty words, they're lovely. They're actually boundaries that protect love, that remind us this is what love looks like. Are you doing these things? Do you see my gist? But you know, we're in good company when we use boundaries because Jesus used boundaries. Because we can be against it as Christians or people who are trying to love everybody. We think, oh, I can't say no, but Jesus did. Jesus had boundaries. There was times when Jesus would be amongst people and he was done. He was done and he would have to separate himself and give himself time out, time alone, because he knew his limits. He knew he needed the boundaries. There were times when people asked him for help and Jesus actually said no for whatever reasons, and there was reasons, always a reason, but Jesus would say no. Jesus knew that boundaries protect. So boundaries are okay. Don't be afraid to use boundaries. When Matthew and I were just friends, just dating, we weren't dating, not dating. He doesn't know anything. We were going for a walk one day after uni. We'd travelled home from uni together and killing a bit of time before a church connect group thing that night. And we were on a walk and we're chatting away and I said, oh, let's not go to connect group tonight. Let's catch up with so-and-so. Yes, I did that. Charming. And he said, nah, let's go to connect group and catch up with them afterwards. You see, Matthew had a boundary in place. He had a boundary to protect his spiritual growth. And our relationship was just a friendship. It truly was just a friendship at that time. But he got my attention. My respect for him grew. And I could see that he had good things in place. And you know what? Just as another side note, it was the thing that actually really made me look at him and go, yeah, maybe I should consider this guy. So good move, Maddie. Yeah. Boundaries are so important. So here's a question. What boundaries do you have that enrich your relationships? Do you have boundaries in place that help your relationships, that help your family? But it does get tricky. And here's where it gets tricky, because you can create boundaries, but you must enforce them. So there's a big difference there. Because the truth is, other people don't care about your boundaries. I hate to break it. People don't really care. They might consider them, but they're not the ones that it truly matters to. You are the one that has to protect your family by enforcing your boundaries. So, so important. Nobody else can do that for you. Earlier this year, our Abby turned 16 and got her learner's license. And she was sitting at the kitchen bench and with the computer, because you can do it all online now, very different to when I did it many, many years ago. She's sitting there and Matt, Joey and I standing behind her watching, hovering over her shoulders, watching, and she's doing it. Finally she goes, guys, can I have a bit of space, please? And so we're like, okay. We all just stepped back a little bit. And she kept going. But then she stopped. And she looked at us. And she sighed. And at that point, we scurried away. And the reason for that is with Abby, a whisper is a yell. I mean that. A whisper is a yell. She didn't have to do anything. All she did was look at us. But she was enforcing her boundaries. We would have stayed there, horrible as it was, but she was enforcing her boundaries. It's so important to enforce your boundaries. Telling people your boundaries is all good and well, but if you don't enforce them, you're setting yourself up for disappointment. It's on you what you allow to have happen. Oh, now, I just want to take a moment to say that if you're a parent and you struggle a little bit with this, we have a really exciting thing coming up next year. In Term 1, we are running an Alpha parenting course. This is going to be amazing. We don't have all the details yet, but we do have a way for you to register your interest. So on the Catalyst Church app, there is an Alpha button, And you can register your interest through that, and we will be keeping you updated with the details for that. So that is a really great way, if you've got kids at home still, a really great way for you to upskill and help yourself as you navigate parenting and all that comes with it. All that comes with it. All right, boundaries are good. So there we have it. 3 things: fun, healthy words, and boundaries. And these are all things that I, of course, believe can help any relationship to thrive. Perhaps there's something there that's caught your eye, caught your ear. And if it has, I really hope that you dig into that you press into that. I hope you care enough about your relationships to actually put time and energy into it, like that opener said. Put the hard work in. They don't happen by accident. But at the end of the day, like I said in the beginning of this message, we live in a broken world. We do. And you can put all of the best intended energy and hard work into your relationships, and you're still dealing with other people. Things may not go quite the way that you want, and that really hurts. I know that. It hurts. But the good news is that there's always hope with Jesus. There's always hope with Jesus. And when things aren't smooth sailing, God still sees you, and he sees your heart, and he cares for your heart. He cares about that. So you can still have peace. There may not be ultimate peace within your relationship, but you can have peace still. As you press into God and just let him care for your heart and ask for wisdom, ask for guidance, ask for strength, ask for help, you can have peace, even while there's turmoil on the side. And to be really honest and real with you right now, I've been through a season of that. I've been worrying and fretting about my family over a few different things. And I was so focused on the issue at hand that I wasn't getting peace. I was praying into that. I was doing good things, but I didn't have peace. But when I shifted my heart into God, just care for me, help me get through this, even though I still did those things on the side, that's when I found my peace. Our peace comes from him, and that's the best part of a relationship with Jesus. But of course, I can't end today without reminding everybody that the most powerful thing you can do for your family is to pray for them. That is the most powerful thing you can do for any relationship that you have. Keep praying for your loved ones. I think last year I did a whole message on this. So if you want a bit more, how do I do that? Check that out. Find that in our Catalyst Church app or some way. But prayer for your families is so important. It is the thing that can make all of the difference. So we're actually going to do that now. We're going to head back into a time of worship, and we're going to pray for our loved ones through song. It's going to be a special time. So with that, thanks worship team.